Who are you? What's your role? And where do you work?
Hi, I'm Jasmine. I lead developer infrastructure at Square. We're responsible for point of sale products and how the software is integrated into the hardware, especially optimizing for build capacity in the public cloud as well as on-prem infrastructure.
And one of the topics that you're interested in currently is cost optimization. It sounds like everyone wants to optimize, but maybe doesn't really know where to start.
Yeah.
What's the best place to start?
I think the best place to start with cost optimization is understanding how much you're spending. I think there's nothing you can do unless you're understanding where the money is going, and then understanding how your applications rank in terms of who is spending the most and why. Does it relate to where your money is being made, right? If the biggest application is an internal application, that's probably a problem, right? Your biggest application should be making the money. So I think that's the first step, is understanding where the money is going and who's spending the most. Lots of tools out there that can help you answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, the rise of open cost. We've seen other initiatives.
Yes.
You've been in the space for a while. How is this evolving? Are the technologies keeping up with the demands of organizations, or does additional work need to be done?
I think we're evolving, at a good rate. I think about 2 years ago when I was speaking at KubeCon LA, and when I think about the Kubernetes updates I gave, the community has come with such a long way, so many iterations within the product. I do think that the more engagement we have from a community perspective, the faster we will evolve to address sort of the edge use cases, right? Those companies that are less represented, the non-AWS, the non-Google companies that are smaller and have more niche use cases for all of the tooling that's provided. So I think it's coming a long way, but I do want to hear from those sort of less represented companies to kind of address those use cases. Yeah.
Kubernetes turned 10 years old this year.
Yeah.
What can we expect in the next 10 years?
I think with artificial intelligence and large LLMs, I think it's going to come a long way from when you're optimizing Kubernetes for an organization. I think there's going to be a lot around automating that, and using LLM to learn about your workloads, how traffic impacts them, right? So that way you don't really have to think about it from an SRE perspective. The Kubernetes just does it for you essentially, right? And then you can focus on actually making sure the applications are resilient, right? You don't have to focus on the scaling aspect anymore. Yeah.
If you had to choose your least favorite Kubernetes feature, what would it be and why?
I think I'm very biased in that Kubernetes was the first, my first introduction to cloud native. So it's come such a long way. I can't think of any one aspect that hasn't grown and improved. The documentation, the community, the kubectl, the command line interface, everything has come a long way. So maybe it's bad, but I can't think of anything.
That's
I love
fine.
Kubernetes.
That's okay. That's good. All right. Just as you're, on the cost optimization side, a question about ARM instances. One of our podcast guests shared that Adevinta migrated their Kubernetes cluster to support ARM instances and workloads because they are more cost effective. Do you have any practical advice in this regard on cost reduction?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you can look at the core architecture, you should, in order to optimize for cost. One of the ways that we've done this internally is leveraging non-bare metal instances for certain use cases because it's more expensive, right? So I think knowing your requirements for the applications that you have, we're building ARM64, we're building multiple architecture types, and then specifically creating Kubernetes clusters and environments for those specific types versus throwing everything in one solution, I think. So basically just focusing on those specific aspects of Kubernetes instead of just building one thing for all of your requirements, I think is going to be optimized because as we know, OS architectures vary from a cost perspective. So the more niche and granular you can get, the more levers you have to pull for cost optimization. So, yeah.
Jasmine, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Jasmine James Fuller, and that's the best way.